This is the Puerto Rican Punisher Babe. Telling you to check out Chop's videos on YouTube. He's got the best collection of classics in New England wrestling and professional wrestling in general. So go ahead, subscribe, give him a follow, give him a like, and hit the bell notification so that you get the latest videos when they drop. Y no te olvides que guste o no te guste, Chop Videos, esa es la que hay.
No worries at all. I'm pretty excited for this.
Cool. How you been?
Very well. I've done a lot since last time you saw me in spandex in the middle of a ring, but yeah, man, the wrestling bug never goes away. I'm still a huge fan to this day. I mean, started as a fan, ended as a fan. A lot of fond memories I think about often. Got a family, 5-year-old son, wife, living in Pittsburgh. Spent a lot of time down in South Carolina. Pretty good. Can't really complain.
So you've been around a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Since last you saw me, the only wrestling I've really done, I helped with some ring crew just to get the itch a little bit. Took some bumps like I knew something with a very NWA legend you would know, Susan Tex Green. Became pretty close friends with her down in South Carolina. She's probably one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet, but she knows all the Ric Flair stories and Wahoo McDaniel stories. Actually, she's somebody you should talk to. She is amazing.
Wow, I would love to talk to Sue Green.
I'll reach out and see if I can. You know, she does her thing. You know, she still trains people. She's still some health things, but that's the toughest woman I've ever met in my life. You know, so she's really inspirational.
Yeah, she trained old school. Do you know who trained her? I don't know who trained her offhand.
I don't remember. She kind of goes over it, but whenever we start talking about her, she always made it about the young kids. And you know, she's all about like, I want to just talk about what's next, you know, and help the people make it. And just she's all heart, all love. Really great woman.
Or just imagine in the day she was trained for real, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
she didn't mess around.
She'll hit you. Yeah, she'll hit you. She lets you know that you're in that ring and you better be respectful. Yeah. So probably the sweetest, scariest person at the same time you could ever meet in wrestling terms.
I mean, in her days, you could get trained and not know it was a work till 6 months a year in to find out it's a work.
Tough Texas woman for sure. Very tough lady. I think she's probably just as tough as she was when she was 16 years old in that ring. She's really great. Like I said, it would be a great interview for you.
Awesome. And just so you know, we haven't even started, but we chat, get to know each other a little bit first. But I'll use some of this stuff sometimes too, because some of this stuff will be even better than the stuff we do during the actual interview, because just us talking. I love just talking, and we'll talk wrestling, and then we'll do the interview, and then I'll go back and go, hey, half the stuff outside the interview is just as good, and I'll use that for other stuff outside, or we'll do a career interview, and I'll use this stuff for your career interview as well, or the stuff outside. Which you seem interested in, by the way.
This is your baby, by the way, man. This is your baby. I'm very honored. I feel very honored to just even be talking about wrestling with an old friend. You know, we miss it when we don't have the bug. We're not, God bless Teddy Goods. I mean, he's like the glue that holds the old timers together, I guess. And I can't thank him enough for that. Just keeping everybody feeling like they're involved still. And he's inspirational too. That's another conversation, but that's the type of stuff that you remember the family. Blade Runner, Reverend Redemption. I talk to him probably once a month, at least through text or messaging. It's an old brother, man. We love that guy. And you'd be surprised what those types of memories bring up.
He just friend requested me.
I mean, one of the oldest school guys that went to WWF early for, when they were grabbing people, anyone they could to do things. He was one of the special ones, a big guy. Huge heart, huge mind, a wrestling genius for sure. He's just a big local legend though, and everybody loves him.
Redemption you're talking about?
Oh yeah, Redemption. Yep. That's kind of those guys I watched when I was a kid. So that was, I went to all the local shows as a kid. I was obsessed with wrestling forever, pretty much, and those guys were like as close as I could get. We couldn't all afford the tickets to the WWF back in the day. You know, they weren't easy to come by. The internet wasn't around. You know, you kind of had to take your luck, go to the Civic Center if you wanted something, and hope for the best.
Wow. We might have to do a couple of these or something. So I can get,
Sounds good, man.
because I'm not sure what direction to go on this actually, because I kind of want to talk to you about all that stuff, but I kind of want to get some NEWA stuff out of you.
We could talk NEWA all day. Yeah.
Right. But if we do that, I won't get the other stuff out of you. So that's why I say we might have to do a couple of these. That's why I end up doing one on somebody like I've been doing Primal. We'll end up talking and not talk Primal the whole time, and then we'll have to come back and do the Primal. You know what I mean? So we end up.
I got to be honest with you, man. I'm pretty free right now. You know, I was more being respectful of your time. Until
I'm open
requires.
too. So that's what usually ends up happening. We end up scheduling something and we end up talking nothing else, and we end up flowing for a couple hours. So I'm open to whatever you're open to, just to let you know. And if you have to go, you have to go. And if we have to do it in sections, I do that with people. I'll do an hour and a half here, an hour and a half there. And like you've seen, if you've checked out like the pun one, it ends up being, 6 or 8 parts. I did one with Joe Bruin, ended up being, I think, 6.5, 7 hours, but we did it in like 3 settings. You know what I mean? Sittings. We didn't do it all at once.
This doesn't have to be the only one. Trust me. If if you're interested, I mean, I can talk. I'm a talker. So I was on the mic back in the day too, at a young age. I was surprised they gave me a live mic, but they always said I got heat. So that was cool. You know, it's just like my big thing to me. I love doing mic stuff. I love getting heat. I was really hated in some of my matches, man. Yeah. I could get massive heat really quickly. I used to single out like the single moms in the audience, the kid with the fresh bag of chips, and I'd get up in their face, and that would make everyone else mad around them. It's like kicking a hornet's nest, and that's the key. You just got to find your targets and enjoy it. You know, that's part of the fun.
I'll actually be honest with you. When I was doing NEWA, my first shows, if you remember, I was doing the promos with guys backstage, which not many people did back then. And I tried to give you guys mic time and get experience and add to the tapes and add to the whole thing. Because we wanted to do a whole angles and get guys involved and like, hey, put your characters over, get your characters. We were really trying to push that and do that, me and George. And I didn't know you that well back then. I had seen, a match or two in Yankee Pro, and you come into NEWA, and I was grabbing promos. I asked you, and a lot of guys wouldn't even do it. No, I don't know how to. I love promos. I'd have to force them. I asked you, and you were like, "Yep," and you cut one, and you were like, "Boom, boom, boom." I was like really surprised at how well you did a promo compared to everybody else at that time, at that age. Because I mean, how old were you at that time?
I started at Yankee about 16 years old. So I was about, 17, 18 around then. Yeah.
I was going to say, were you even 20 years old at that time?
No. I stopped wrestling before I was 20, man.
Really?
Yeah. I had none of what they'd call the prime years in wrestling whatsoever. I was going to college. I moved to Pittsburgh, very deep family stuff, probably not for an interview right now, but massive. I had to grow up extremely fast due to my circumstances. I grew up in New Bedford, man. That's a really, no matter what, depends where you're at in your family. But I grew up in a rough area, and there's things that occur that you can't do anything about. You got to grow up quick, So I had a chance to move to Pittsburgh. I had some connections here, and kind of just took off from there in just adult life, I guess, if you call it that. But had a good time. I went to a hell of a party school called IUP in Pennsylvania. It's legendary. Like, people come from everywhere to party there. And believe me, being a pro wrestler like that, it was pretty easy to get along there. Got me a lot of job interviews my whole life. Got me a lot of attention just saying, hey, I used to be a pro wrestler. You can look it up, kind of thing. I get a lot of yeahs until they look it up and they're like, holy shit, you had like over 100 matches. Like, that's pretty damn good. Are you hurt? Other than get a broken heart when you don't do it anymore, I'm pretty okay.
And before you were 20, 100 matches before you were 20.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Backyard wrestling shit. I was 12, 13 years old starting to do that up in a Acushnet. Some kid, Josh and Adam, 2 guys, they knew this kid named Adam Impact, knew all those RDW kids I told you about before. That in itself is an hour-long story at the minimum. The legends that came out of that place is amazing. If people knew about them back in the day, we would have been national news on something. Good or bad, I'm not sure, but we would have definitely gotten some attention.
Isn't that who I posted doing the angle where they invaded Yankee Pro with Mikey B and stuff there?
We had something like that.
I think I posted a clip of that.
Well, I remember I went in the ring. There's only one time RDW was ever mentioned in Yankee Pro Wrestling in public. And I started an RDW chant. I brought a guy named Icebreaker. We had a kid named, well, his wrestling name at RDW was that kid, but in Yankee Pro was named Omega. He used to wear a mask. And we did like a little hostile takeover right before I left and went to NEWA. It was pretty cool. And some guys weren't really into, it getting mainstream or any of that. They just liked what it was. And some people, like myself, I wanted to mix the two because it was two very important things to me.
Maybe it wasn't them. Maybe it was another league. 3 guys come in and ran in the ring. And the
Could have been.
Stop them.
It could have been because I remember that happening with me. I was with Icebreaker and Omega, and we jumped somebody. I can't remember who that was with. That was around the same time I was teaming with Hollywood Johnny Nash.
This was the same night that you fought Goliath. That match I posted.
Colossus. That was actually early. That was my second Yankee match, I think, ever.
Was it?
And that was supposed to be his last match at the time. And it was pretty cool because he's a very big guy. I mean, especially watching him as a kid. I mean, I knew who he was before I ever became a wrestler. And he wasn't a WWF guy, but geez, I mean, he's 6'8", 450. I'm sure he was 450 around there. And he was still a legend. I mean, I had so much respect for those guys like the Steve Bradleys, the Brickhouse Baker, man. People don't mention that man enough at all. He doesn't like all the attention, but if he didn't push the people he pushed and stuff, none of us would have been half as good as we were, as good as we thought we were at least. He gave us everything. But Colossus, man, great guy. I was terrified of him when I went out there. A bunch of my high school kids were there. And I kind of just around school said, hey, I'm wrestling tonight and you guys can watch. So I had a lot of heat that I didn't expect. And he thought that was pretty cool too after the match. He said, hey, kid, you got some following out there. And he went and told Joe Eugenio right in front of me, hey, this kid had some good stuff out there. And I think that helped me a little bit.
Yeah, he had some respect in that locker room, so him saying something must have helped you.
Big guy, man. Big man. I wouldn't want to insult the guy. He's like the local. He's not Andre the Giant, but he's like our local Andre. He's our giant. Rick Fuller too, another phenom. I never worked with him, but I watched him as a kid. I didn't do so much work in Maine. I don't know if it was just because I was too early in my career to get their attention or what. But Rick Fuller, huge hero of mine growing up. Love the guy. He was just larger than life while we were growing up. He was on that Saturday night main event against Roadblock. And if you saw a guy on TV and then get to see him in person, it's like when you're somebody like me who is obsessed with wrestling, that's pretty cool, and he was always really cordial and really nice.
I went to high school with Rick Fuller.
Did you? I don't know if that'd be the same experience or not. Little kid fan versus being in high school with him, but still, great wrestling figure here, locally especially.
Yeah, I'm from Middleborough, so.
Oh, really, man? I spent a lot of time in Lakeville, right next door. So, yeah, Middleborough's not bad.
That's basically where I live now, right in the Middleborough-Lakeville line. So,
did you do any wrestling yourself?
No,
or just as a spectator.
No, I was a cameraman. I did a lot of filming. I did some booking with George. I was helping George with booking for a while there in NEWA.
That's awesome, man.
Doing all the promos and
the Wizard of Oz, George Carroll.
Right, right.
The man behind
George was awesome, man. I love George.
Oh, me too, man. He's just a brilliant person. The story about him, even I don't know if this is the time or not, but I guess you can edit. But the story about him really is he was in Yankee Pro in the locker room at a big show. It was a house show at our training facility, and he was just going around talking to people. He said, "Hey, do you guys ever work anywhere else?" kind of thing. And a bunch of us got an opportunity with him. None of us had really reached out or strived out. Yankee Pro was pretty tight about not letting their talent go elsewhere. That was a huge rule. But then again, they kept us very busy. I mean, it wasn't always a paid show or anything, but it definitely, you're wrestling in front of a few hundred sold out crowd every time. And that's really nice. I mean, and not to mention the development you get from him is huge as well. But George came up. He really flattered me with what he said to me. Just saying, hey, you got some good stuff out there, and would you like to kind of wrestle around? Like, what's your plan? You want to hang out, kind of thing. And it was as a friend. He's always just been a friend to people. And I think his power is how he treats people and how he develops in relationships. So that's really cool. And I'm happy to be kind of even a small part, if he remembers me like he does, small part of his story.
Hey, I'm a fan. He brought in the book that we used to just talk on the internet, and he was like, dude, you know your shit, come in and help me. And I was like, I don't know how to book. I'm just the guy that watches wrestling. You know what I mean?
That's all
and
you
he
got to know.
literally just said, come to my show. Just come, just show up. And he talked me into it. And next thing you know, just the way he talks to you and coaxes you into things, he tells you and convinces you can do things and then he tells you that you convinced him that he could do things that he didn't think he could do. To this day, when he got hired for NXT, he messaged me and thanked me for giving him the confidence, helping him get to where he got, and told me I should have stayed with it, that I could be beside him. And I'm like, I'm a fan that you dragged into the business that was sitting in the crowd. You know what I mean?
Hey,
it's
listen,
unbelievable.
You're valuable, bud, and I'm not blowing smoke at you. I had never saw any of my footage except for Ryan Waters sent me our match, his very first match that we had, just because I scratched and clawed and begged everybody, Steve Ricard, everyone, just say, I want to see my footage sometime. And you made it possible. Like, that match means everything to me. I got my ass completely kicked by Colossus. But I mean, just the remember the as crazy as this sounds, the lights, the smells, the feelings and the bruises and bumps I took in that ring, the relationships and friendships I built in that ring that's in that video, and the sounds. That match meant a lot to me. I'll never forget all the high school kids there that were supporting me. And it was pretty cool, man. And just for that match, that's a big match for me. And it's invaluable. Like, it has no monetary limit to it, to what that match means to me, that footage. So thank you.
I got
thank
a lot
you so
more.
much. It's awesome.
I got a lot more. I'm just holding it back for this project. Once this project comes out, this stuff's going to come out like weekly TV.
I can speak for myself. It's cool to be able to see it. It's so important in all of our memory. You know, like, each of us have our memories of it, and it's so cool to see it.
That's why I'm doing it. This stuff's been sitting in my closet for 20 years. You know what I mean? I tripped across it, and I'm like, man, I have to put this stuff out because there's so many people out there that would love to see it and want to see it. And I didn't mean to at first. I just put it out, and I got such a great response from you and so many others that I'm like, man, I can't just put this stuff back in the closet. You know what I mean? And it get thrown away someday, because that's what's going to end up happening to it.
You obviously have a passion, and you obviously have an eye for it. So, I mean, hell, like, you know, in this day and age, there's no need for you to sit on the sideline. You know, go do something. You know, I think you can kick some major ass and put yourself out there.
I need commentary. How are you at commentary?
I'm the wrong guy to ask, man.
I know. I'm just saying,
out of the loop, buddy. I'll be surprised. You know, I'm surprised when anybody remembers me nowadays, man. You know, it's been a long time. You know.
No, I'm just saying that's been the holdback with that stuff, and that's why it was never put out. That stuff that's never been seen. I have every show for 2 years, I think, 2.5 years, and that's like 3-hour shows. So if I do 30-40 minute TV episodes, how many episodes is that?
It's a lot. I mean,
you know. Yeah. And then I'm going to insert clips of you guys today, each week, giving little thoughts and memories. I'm going to have a segment each week. That's what I'm going to do with the TV. I'm going to show it, awesome. Make a TV episode, and then have a segment of of today, telling a story about back then or a memory each week.
I have some pretty funny stories. Do you know who Paul Lombardi is? Obviously, Jared. He's pretty.
Yes,
pretty
and I was just going to say, I believe, was in your debut when you first went there, you were with him, right?
I don't remember if we teamed up. I just that was Beefcake's first show with NEWA, and Beefcake came in pretty you know, subdued, quiet. Didn't go and shake hands. I don't know. That's what you do backstage. You introduce yourself to everybody. At least back then. I mean, probably things and standards. Hell if I know what it is now. But at least back then, you go and introduce yourself. And we were all pretty like, hey, this is Brutus Beefcake, you know. He disappears. He was sitting right next to where I'm at. Didn't say hello, nothing. I didn't bother him. He goes up, and we know he goes to the bar, gets tanked. I mean, just completely tanked at the bar. And comes back, and all of a sudden, he turned into Brutus Beefcake. He was in full character, tried to cut people's hair. He comes over and starts getting dressed for the show, gets completely bare ass. We're all just like, oh my God, like, what the hell's going on? And here comes Paul Lombardi. into the back, and he sneezes. And he happens to not see Beefcake there and sneezes right on him. So that became a legendary myth that actually happened that I witnessed, as Paul Lombardi sneezing on Brutus Beefcake's junk in his very first NEWA show. So as much as you can find from that at the lodge, the famous Moose Lodge that we always went to, that's where it happened. He was at the bar, came back real happy, and got sneezed on by Paul Lombardi on his junk, and it was pretty funny, and it's something I'll never forget my whole life.
I believe somebody else told me the same story, that Steve Lombardi was looking down or something and looked up, and Beefcake was like right there or something, and he sneezed.
Oh man. So I think I was just calling him Paul Lombardi. I'm sorry, but just the same.
It is Paul Lombardi.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Paul
yeah.
Lombardi. I said Steve Lombardi. You're right.
Oh yeah, you had the trophy.
Up.
Yeah. But no, or Vince Lombardi. But just the same. He's the man too. Like, he's done great things with his life, but I'll never forget that as long as I live. And my story meeting him actually is through RDW. He was working for Dave Oliveira in Fall River. He had this thing called ACW, which Atlantic Championship Wrestling, I think it was. It was in Fall River. They started in a Kempo ring from a martial arts instructor. Sandra Starr was there. Sandy Starr helped a lot in the early development of that, just kind of training people. That's a very, big name in New England, obviously. Well respected.
I know Sandy
person.
well. Yeah,
very well respected. She was really tight with Tony Atlas too, and that was really cool back then. I worked a lot of shows and sat right next to Tony Atlas, and that was pretty cool. But anyway, he started there. A lot of guys. George Robidoux actually was Little Biggens. He was my little brother and gimmick at that place when I first went there. I never ended up working a show. I got with Joe, and he wasn't okay with us working there. He said, hey, you working here or there? And I was like, I'm going to work here. I'm not crazy. First of all, they were walking distance to my house. So if I didn't have a ride, I could go there and catch a ride with a ring crew or whatever and get paid extra. Or I didn't have to truck myself to Fall River every week. So, but also the shows were bar none way better. Top Rope Promotions, like in the background. Ricard paid very well when I got to work for him. I made really decent money when I actually worked for him, only really just getting it from ring crew. But he was very generous with money back in the day.
Was that for South Coast you're talking about, or just?
I did mostly Yankee Pro, but there were a couple of away shows, we called them, where we would sell out like a high school somewhere, and they don't know who the hell we are. We have to work whatever we're given. I worked the Power Company a couple of times during those, teaming up with Tex McCoy while he was in a Terry Thomas gimmick for a while. We were Bobby and Terry. It was after that Chuck and Terry tag team in WWF. But just the same,
Billy and Chuck.
he paid well. But Lombardi came from those ACW guys. It was just a small little crew.
I've heard that a lot from Yankee Pro, that Joe didn't like people working other places. The Primal guys, Striker. I did an interview with Striker, and he said that when he went to Primal, he got a lot of heat from that, and ended up leaving Primal and not working there because of the heat Joe gave him. And he really liked working Primal. I forget who else, but there was a couple other guys that went to Primal and got heat from Joe, and either end up leaving. Suicidal Silva when he went there. Lance Silva. When he went
Lance
there.
Silva's the man, by the way. Oh, I
did an interview with him
dude.
too.
I love you, Lance Silva. You're still the best ever, man. One of the greatest human beings I've ever shared a locker room with in my life, man. He protected us young guys. He was one of the guys that did not believe in that. Let's beat the living hell out of these guys and teach us things. And what that man did for a ton of us, if he's not thanked every time, I'd be shocked.
He keeps an eye on these. He's always liking my videos and stuff. He loves watching this stuff.
Great person, man. Great dude. One of the best people I've shared a locker room with. So he was a big guy too when we were there. Like, he's already pretty well known. We looked up to him, so it was pretty cool.
He did a good interview, and he was pretty adamant about that, how he didn't like how Joe, didn't let him work there and stuff.
It's not cool. I mean, I understand at the time. And also, in my case, I went in with a guy named, who Mike Edwards is. I'm sure you've heard of Mike Edwards, but and I miss talking to him, at least through Messenger and stuff. I tried to keep in touch with him my whole life. I really thank him for even giving me my opportunity in wrestling. Like, it was really him that gave me my shot. So thank you to him forever. But you know, we went there and we got free training. We didn't have to pay for training, and the training was expensive if you weren't coming up like that. So that was kind of like how he felt like it was. You know, we owed it to them, and we kept getting free publicity, free promoting, that kind of thing. So I kind of got it, but it did stink too because, you know, independent wrestling is, you know, you're independently trying to get your name out there and go as many places as you can. So there's two sides, I'm sure. And, you know, I'm sure it was a good business model for him, you know, and he had some really good talent that stuck with him forever. So, I mean, it's definitely not a bad move on his part, Joey Genio.
How long were you in Yankee Pro before you went to NEWA?
About probably a year and a half to 2 years. Nothing crazy. I trained about 3 months before I went on a live show. Same show, Pat Masters, also named IQ. He was in the score. One of my best friends, by the way, in life. I've kept in touch with him, you know, solid throughout our whole time. Another kid who came up from RDW with me as well. Like, you know, he was big time there before I got there. But he actually got introduced that night. Nick Steele pulled him over the barrier and beat him up pretty good. But that's, yeah, man, I started about 3 months after training. I worked really a lot of training with Nick Steele. Don Vega was there a lot as a talent. Just more to, you know, he wasn't as known as he is now, but he was still very well respected in the area. Chris Blackheart definitely was at a lot of trainings early on. He beat the living hell out of us all the time. Guys like that. Brickhouse Baker was like a celebrity there. I mean, he would show up and we would just be completely enamored by the things he would do just because he knows wrestling so well. Nick Steele was our coach though, all day. He really hands-on taught us. We were terrified of him until we got to know him. Then we found out he's like the sweetest person ever. You know, I miss him too. And I didn't keep as much touch as some of the guys did, but he was a wonderful trainer. We were all scared to death of him though when he was training us. He's like one of the most intimidating. Nightmare Nick Steele's not the same guy as him, you know. But great guy, man. Great trainer.
You don't happen to know when he passed, do you? I've been doing tributes for guys, and Nick Steele, I cannot find his birthday and the day he passed.
I'll look it up to be 100% accurate. It wasn't.
I don't know his real name, and looking up Nick Steele, I'm coming up with nothing.
I'll take care of you, man. I'll try to get somebody. And if I can't, I mean, Frankie Vane, you know that guy's name.
No, I don't know.
Frankie Vane. He's been Top Rope Promotions his whole career. He's one of the lifers there. Big dude. He's looked and sounded. Me and him were actually tag team partners a lot there for early on. He wore face paint kind of like the Hurricane. He had kind of a Hurricane Elms look.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was in the Devil's Doorman. He teams up with
I know. I got
Devil's Reject.
I was just drawing a blank.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. He would probably know pretty closely, as well as the Devil's Reject. Brandon.
I haven't talked to him. I don't think I have him on my friends list though.
We're gonna have to fix that, man. There's a lot of people that I don't know if you know or not. So
the Yankee Pro side, I'm not so into it as I don't know. I'm slowly branching out into the different independent. You know, some I'm into like NEWA and Primal. I got a lot of people and a couple others, HWF and stuff like that. But Yankee Pro, I only got some. The guys that crossed over and went to the other feds I talked to, but guys that's basically stayed there, I don't know a lot of. Like I said, Reverend Redemption just friend requested me. I think I friend requested him a long time ago and he didn't accept. You know, a lot of them don't know who I am because I never like filmed for them or anything. I went to their shows as a fan, but I never like went backstage or talked to them.
Honestly, Kevin Thomas is the guy who told me to contact you when I asked about it back in the day a little bit. He said that you would be the guy, if anybody, who has that, the footage of everybody. So that's how I was kind of reintroduced, you know. And I was like, the dude that used to do the promos and stuff. And he's like, yeah, you know, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, that's a really brilliant person to talk. Like, you know, that's exactly who I need to talk to. But so that's kind of cool. He's a big fan of yours too. You know, just to tell you, he says good things about you. So
cool.
What was your favorite part of NEWA? What's the memories you kind of just have held on to the most, or what was your favorite aspects?
Damn, nobody's asked me.
Wow, man. I'm an interviewer by nature, bud.
just doing it. Just George giving me the opportunity. Just I really regret it. Actually, I regret that I didn't let loose and go all the way with it because I was really George wanted me to just go with it, let free and taking this meeting will end in 10 minutes. You're fine. Your lighting's better than mine.
I have daylight coming in and I have a lamp off to the side. This is where I sit normally, like even when I work from home or do anything.
Yeah, your lighting's great. I wish I could get my lighting that good.
It's mostly just daylight, man. It's gray in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
so it's not super
That's what
sunny.
it is. I don't got a big window like right here. I got one, but it's on this side of me. And then if I do it, it's only on one side, and this side sucks. So it's like
We have to buy you one of those ring lights.
I got one right here.
Oh, right there.
And it just shines on my face. And then when I move, I don't know. Then I get the shadow back. I don't know. I'm still learning, man.
Dude, man,
I'm trying to
you're
learn this
great.
green screen thing.
Hey, I've watched your videos, man. It's not you're not a rookie, dude. I mean, I think you just need to, get your confidence and just kill it, man. That's all you need to do. Everybody is appreciative of this. I can guarantee it. I know I am. I can't speak for everyone, but I'm willing to bet money that people are pretty excited about this. So
that's kind of what I was saying. That's what I needed that back then, my confidence and to go with it that I didn't have back then. And by the end, when I stopped doing NEW, I was just starting to open up and like I kind of wish George put me in front of everybody and said, this is Chopper. We're doing this together. If he wants you to do something, do it. I never had that. So it was like me coming up to people and going, hey, do this for me. And some people are like, yeah, no problem. And other people would look at me like, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean?
There was a big contrast between the chaotic guys and the Yankee Pro guys, though. I think, like, especially myself, I was very respectful coming in there. I listened to what I was told. I wrestled who I was told to wrestle. I don't think that's the same school from the chaotic side. I think they were a little more, they were freer to do what they wanted, I think, over there. And I don't know that for sure. They were never really interested in me. I was a lot like Hanson. And there was no need to have a big guy like Hanson because Hanson was our guy. Even when we teamed up, we were pretty similar guys. Both of us had charisma. Both of us were big. We could both do flips and crazy crap in the ring. We really got people pissed off really easy too. It was nice. But there was a contrast in attitudes inside that locker room for sure. And definitely butting heads sometimes. I think that was probably one of the most complex issues for booking was getting coexistence between the Yankee and the chaotic guys early on.
Yeah, I'm still looking at this. It's still saying it's going to stop in 5:30. When have we just stopped the meeting and start a new one?
If that's the case, it's fine. I won't be
If we cut
deal.
out, that's why in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine, man.
I'll just send you a new link if I have to, if that works. If not, I'll hit you up on Messenger and we'll figure it out.
Sounds good. No worries. No worries.
But yeah, I never had my confidence there too much. It was kind of like I felt like I was out of place and not overstepping my bounds. Like I didn't even know to go in a locker room and shake everybody's hand or what to do. I'd never been in a locker room, so I kind of just walk around and go, I don't know who to ask for a promo, who hey, we do a promo for me? You know what I mean? And then to direct the promo and tell people to do what I want them to do. Because I had in my mind what I'd want you to do and how not exact words what I want you to say, but how we wanted that promo to go. Because we wanted to direct angles through the promos and through the matches. And that's what we were trying to do at the time. And I don't think I had the confidence or drive to do that, but it slowly built a little bit. And I wish I had that from the beginning. And I wish I just went all out and said, all right, this is what George wants me to do. Hey, can you do this for me? And can you, give you bullet points and blah, 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 like you should do. I wish I had that.
You have to remind yourself too, man, it wasn't the same as it is right now. Like YouTube was like barely existent. Smartphones were barely existent. Like you weren't exactly like, you can't hold it the same esteem as you think of it right now with, hindsight 22 stuff, because like, that's what I always say. They go, why don't you have any of your footage if you did all this and all that? I was like, well, look, dude, I missed out on the rise of social media. Who knows what would have happened in my life if I would have had social media? I'd probably at least be in Japan based on the people I was working around and what I was doing. I'd at least would have gone to Japan. I probably would have never wanted to come back. Pro wrestler in Japan's a nice gig. And I would have been perfectly fine with that. But you know, social media wasn't really prevalent yet, and even MySpace was just kind of a thing. AOL was what we were going to show people on AOL that we did something in wrestling. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, so I missed a little bit of the technological advances that would have helped in my career. But same for you. Like, if a person that likes promoting, editing, think about how far editing's probably come.
Right.
You know, and the tools you would have had if you could have gone on Facebook and had this group then with the people we had, Mikey B, you know, Ivar, say their real, you know, say their work names now. Like Brian Rogers too. Like, I mean, let's be real. Like, he's huge. Brian Molinas, he's not some slouchy guy. Like, he was another big name back there. A lot of the chaotic guys, like, not going to start talking trash, like Billy Kryptonite, not a huge fan of his, but you didn't have to work with him that much, so you probably liked him better than me. But
I was supposed to do an interview with him actually like 3 times now, and it keeps falling out.
Well, good luck for that. But just the same, like, I mean, the names back then, unbelievable talent in that locker room. A guy like I've mentioned many times, I call him Pat Masters, but he was IQ. You probably knew him as IQ, Erwin Quincy.
Yeah, I've been trying to get one with him too.
Oh, that man, I don't know how that man has time to breathe. Let me just put it that way. He's really about his kids. He's a great guy. He's just been people like me and him have had to live without the wrestling bug as best we can, you know. But I'd say out of everyone, out of all that talented locker room, he was number one. Kid has been wrestling since he was 8 years old in a ring. 8 years old, he started training to wrestle. Not at Yankee Pro. This was well before Yankee Pro. But he was a young teen in Yankee Pro, man. And I mean, wrestling men, grown people that have been in the business forever, easily. And I mean, I'll get crap for saying this, but like, he was like our little AJ Styles, man. He could do it all of it. And people loved him. He has an it factor, charisma that you can't even make up. He's easily the most talented dude that was in that locker room. He would kill me for saying that, but it's true. Unbelievable talent that never, you know, he had to move on with life too. He had some grown-up decisions to make that he had to handle and kind of got away from him, unfortunately, you know, not being able to wrestle.
Let's end this and let me try to send you a new link because it says I got 1 minute left.
Sounds good, bud.
So let's just end this. And I'll send you a new one. If it don't go through, we'll figure out the other thing that you were talking about or whatever.
No worries, bud.
I'm sorry, man. I've never had this happen.
I don't even want you to think about it at all, okay? Don't worry about it at all. We'll fix it.
Okay, I definitely want to keep this going.
You got it, buddy. I'll call you.
Right.
Hit me right back. I'll get you.
Talk to you in a minute.
Yep.
Well, well, well. Here we are. Again. 15, 20 years later. Talking about primal conflict. You know what? Let me give you my better side. Chopper, you've been putting on a lot of videos. Quite a few of mine. I appreciate that. I like that. In all seriousness, Chopper, you're the man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yo, man, you see Vert?
Vert?
I can't find Vert.
Wait a second.
Who is this about?
Wait,
Oh, is this a chopper?
this is the Chopper video.
Oh, my
dude, you're
bad.
cutting in on this?
My bad.
Oh, dude, that's okay. That's okay.
damn.
You know what?
Hold up. I'm sorry. Hold up.
Let's go get Vert on the phone. Oh, no, you know what? Let's do this now.
Let's be a lot easier if we did this way. Listen, Chop, you're doing a lot of good stuff, man. Primal Conflict coming at you straight up. This is how we do things. You know what? It was always something different, something on the cuff. And Primal Conflict was just that. So as you see the two of us here together, there is more of this coming along. So for you, everybody out there watching, be ready. There's a lot more independence on its way.
Don't just look
Fine,
for
Vert.
that. Look for everything. Because not only is Chopper putting on the best, he's putting on not only the best, the pinnacle. Again, the pinnacle. One more time. The pinnacle.
Hey, the burgers are burning.
The burgers are burning? Dude, Chopper, peace. I gotta go eat. Have a